Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am so sorry that I have been MIA these past couple of weeks. There's been a lot going on in my life that in the next couple of videos I'll be kind of updating you on my life. But in this video, a lot of people ask me what products I recommend over the counter. Of course, you guys know I'm a dermatology PA, and in our office we have our skincare line that we carry and that we recommend to our patients. But some people do want recommendations over the counter. So as you guys know, there is CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens, Sephora, Ulta. There are so many stores where you can buy skincare products, and truthfully, there's a lot of junk over the counter. So I'm gonna kind of break it down very simple, what products I recommend as a dermatology PA. So if you are interested, then please keep watching.
Carve your name in my mind, 'cause you carved it.
So first off, let me say I am not being paid or endorsed by any of these brands over the counter. These are just brands that I personally would use if I were to go over the counter, or sometimes that I recommend to my patients if they do not want to get one of the products we have in office and they're looking for an over-the-counter recommendation. When we're talking about over-the-counter products, I do believe they only go so far. So I always recommend that you see your dermatologist or your dermatology PA regarding your acne so you can get a customized treatment. Acne is not a one-size-fits-all, so that's a reason why people go over the counter and aren't seeing the results they want to, or they get irritated, or they get a rash on it because they're not knowing how to properly use it, or maybe they're using the wrong products for their skin. So these are my recommendations over the counter, but please do not think that this should substitute seeing a dermatologist, because they're the ones who can customize a treatment for you. And whether you are going over the counter or you're seeing a dermatologist, you need to make sure you give this skincare line, these acne treatments, time to work. I tell my patients when starting acne topical creams, you need to give it 6 to 8 weeks before you could potentially even start seeing results. And yes, some people do get worse before they get better. So as long as you're not getting irritated, dried out, like pain from it, because some people can get really irritated from acne topicals, try to push through. You trying something for a week or two and then being like, oh, it doesn't work, I'm gonna throw this out. You really didn't get to see the full potential of that product. So no matter what you use, make sure you do give it 6 to 8 weeks before you can decide if it's helpful or not. So I'm gonna start basically from what I would do in the morning for my acne and then what I would do in the evening. So let's start from the beginning with our cleanser. When choosing an acne cleanser, you want to be as simple as possible. I know a lot of people think, and partly because the marketing companies market certain face washes as good products for acne, a lot of people want to scrub at their skin, whether it's using a Clarisonic brush, whether it's using a face wash that contains microbeads. All of those things are very exfoliating to your skin, and we'll talk about exfoliation later, but mechanical exfoliation, physical exfoliation is actually one of the worst things that you can do when you have acne. So the Clarisonic brush, no. The Neutrogena grapefruit scrub, I believe it's called. A lot of my patients come in using that. You do not want to use those products when you have acne. It's actually going to make your acne more inflamed, and acne has a bacteria component to it, and that can actually cause it to spread. So when you are washing your face or you're choosing a face wash to use, you want to use one that's gentle. The two brands that I like over the counter are by Cerave, they have their gentle cleanser, and by Roche-Posay. They also have a nice gentle cleanser. Everything should be very gentle. Nothing should be rough on your skin. You shouldn't be using like a loofah on your face or anything like that. Everything should be gentle when using a face wash when you have acne. And side point, if you are a girly girl like me and like to wear makeup, don't forget to double cleanse. It's not sufficient to just use a face wash once to remove your makeup and clear your skin. So normally what I do is I will use my face wash to remove all my makeup, then I will wash again to clean my skin. So it is completely okay to double cleanse, and you should do that if you wear makeup so that your makeup is removed and then your skin is clean right after. So typically in the office, if I was prescribing acne creams, I usually do a cream in the morning and a cream at night to be as aggressive as possible to treat acne topically. But over the counter, the main ingredients to treat acne, if you're familiar with them, are salicylic acid, benzoyl peroxide, and a retinol or retinoid. There are others, but those are the most common. I don't like any of those topicals to be used in the morning for a couple reasons. So salicylic acid and topical retinoids or retinols can be very drying and irritating, and they can also make you slightly sensitive to the sun. So I don't like using them in the morning. Even if you're wearing sunscreen, it's just gonna make you a little bit more sensitive. And then benzoyl peroxide can also leave your skin a little bit sensitive, and it can also leave you with like this white film on your skin. So I'll talk about how those products can be beneficial at nighttime, but if you are going over the counter, the next step after washing your face in the morning, I would go straight to moisturizing. When choosing a moisturizer, there has to be a balance. You want something that's hydrating enough, that's gonna hydrate your skin, but not so heavy that it's going to clog your pores and break you out. When choosing moisturizers over the counter, you really wanna look for two main things. One being that it's non-comedogenic, meaning not gonna clog your pores, and also that it's fragrance free. So the two brands that I like over the counter that are moisturizers are by Cerave and Roche-Posay. Similar to the cleansers, I think both of those brands do a nice job at hydrating your skin, but not being heavy and breaking you out. Next, after you hydrate in the morning, you need to put on your sunscreen. I talk about this a lot. Sunscreen is so important in protecting your skin. If you don't want to get dark spots, freckles, melasma, you need to be wearing sunscreen. It is not sufficient enough to be wearing sunscreen in your moisturizer, to be wearing sunscreen in your makeup. You need to be putting on a physical sunscreen that's going to protect you against the sun. It needs to be a minimum of SPF 30. It needs to contain zinc oxide, and in a perfect world, it should be reapplied every 2 hours. So a couple over the counter that I like, CeraVe actually has a zinc oxide sunscreen. A lot of sunscreens over the counter don't contain zinc oxide, which is so crazy to me because that is really, besides titanium dioxide, which is another physical sunscreen, those are the only two that are gonna really protect you against UVA and UVB. Now, I know if you've tried a zinc oxide sunscreen, you may have been turned off by it because it does have a white filmy look, depending on how strong the zinc oxide is, but you can get sunscreens that have lower zinc oxide, so therefore it won't leave you with that white film, but you're still gonna get that protection. So cleanse your face, moisturize, sunscreen in the morning. That's what I recommend. And both La Roche-Posay and CeraVe both have great products when it comes to that. But I do like CeraVe sunscreen in the morning if you're looking for a good sunscreen over the counter. Now, let's talk about the nighttime skincare routine. So before you go to bed, whether you shower or you're at your sink, you need to wash your face again. You need to get all the environmental pollutants, the oil, sweat, anything that built up throughout the day off your skin before you lay your head down on your pillow at night. So you're gonna wash your face again using your CeraVe or your La Roche-Posay, very gentle cleanser. If you're wearing makeup, you're double cleansing, don't forget. And then after that, you are going to put on your acne treatment. So this is where I like to incorporate your retinol or retinoid. What do these products do? So if you remember from previous videos, I kind of went into this. There is a difference between a retinol and a retinoid. A retinoid typically is only prescription. You have to see your dermatologist or your dermatology PA to get it prescribed for you. And there are different medicines that are typical retinoids. But in 2016, a prescription retinoid known as Different went over the counter in the 0.1% version. So technically that is a prescription retinoid that is now available over the counter, and I do recommend using that if you have blackheads, if you have oily skin, if you have little tiny comedones, like little tiny acne bumps where it's not really that big inflammatory whitehead acne, if you will, but they're more little tiny bumps. A retinoid is perfect for that, and it's anti-aging. So I really do recommend using that at night. Now, the reason why you have to be cautious and why I always recommend seeing a dermatologist is because retinoids are very, very drying and irritating, but they are beneficial and they are effective. So normally what I recommend is if you have oily skin or if it's in the summertime, I recommend doing the Different every single night if you can tolerate it, or every other night. And how I basically tell you to use it is a pea-size amount of the medicine. I promise you a pea. Full face, that is all you need. If you keep adding more, you're going to get so ripped up and dry the next couple of days, you're not gonna be able to use it. Pea-size amount, full face, followed by your moisturizer. That retinoid, as you sleep, is gonna help to exfoliate your skin. Remember, we talked about exfoliation earlier as a face wash. Being rough and abrasive, it's just gonna make your acne more irritated and inflamed. But if you exfoliate in a cream version, then you're not being rough with your skin, but you're still getting that exfoliation. So using different at night can be very, very beneficial. If you cannot tolerate different, because maybe it's the winter months, the fall months, maybe you have sensitive skin, rosacea, eczema prone skin, then you might want to try a retinol. And the retinol that I like over the counter is by Roche, R-O-C. I actually used this retinol a lot when I was in PA school for my master's, and I actually really liked it. It was a great product, and I used it every night when I could tolerate it. Usually retinols are gonna be slightly weaker, not that they're not effective, but they're not gonna be as irritating. So fall, winter months, I'll use my retinol every night, and then come summer when I'm more oily, I will do my retinoid every night if I can tolerate it, or let's say every other night. Now, let's say I have, they're gonna mow the lawn right now, that's what we're doing. Let's say you do get those really inflammatory, cystic, deep whitehead pimples, and you're about to go to bed at night, you just did your retinoid or retinol, and you're like, how do I get these big ones to go away? So that's where I like the salicylic acid or the benzoyl peroxide to come into play. I don't like them to be put on full face because they are far too irritating, but spot treatment, I love it. So benzoyl peroxide, how that works is it works as an antibiotic or anti-inflammatory, and salicylic acid exfoliates. So in my opinion, if you're doing the retinol or the retinoid, you don't need to do the salicylic acid as spot treatment over top because they both do the same thing. But I do love some benzoyl peroxide as spot treatment. You put it on the pimple before you go to bed, and then you wash it off in the morning. Because it's a topical antibiotic and anti-inflammatory, it should substantially reduce the size of your pimple by the next day. There are many benzoyl peroxide spot treatments over the counter. The one off the top of my head that I see quite frequently is by Neutrogena, but really any benzoyl peroxide that's a spot treatment over the counter is good if you just have one big pimple that you want to treat overnight. Speaking of the benzoyl peroxide, the only time I like benzoyl peroxide as a wash, because there is a wash called Panoxyl over the counter, is if you have chest or back acne. Chest and back acne can be extremely stubborn, and honestly, in terms of my patients, usually oral antibiotics works best for that. But if you're going over the counter, you can't get that. So benzoyl peroxide wash, I find, can be very beneficial for chest and back acne. And the way that I would have you use it is when you're in the shower, lather up your chest, back, shoulders, anywhere you're breaking out, count to 30, leave it on your skin for 30 seconds and rinse it off. That's a good way to kind of help out with that bacteria and that acne prone areas that are normally on the chest, back, and arms. And then lastly, after you've washed your face, you've done your retinol or retinoid, and then possibly plus or minus a spot treatment of benzoyl peroxide, don't forget to moisturize. In order to really tolerate your retinoids and even your spot treatment benzoyl peroxide, your skin needs to be hydrated. Again, going back to the morning ones, I like the Cerave and the Roche-Posay as a moisturizer. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope you learned something. If you have questions or you have comments, please leave them below. If you want me to do other videos like this, please let me know. Otherwise, I will talk to you guys soon.
Got your name in my mind, 'cause you caught